Hi everyone and welcome to the quarter-finals from the Star City Games Invitational Qualifier from Doncaster, the Legacy event. We have Raoul Zimmerman playing Jund against Richard Plummer, who is playing Rug Delver, the first appearance of Rug Delver in this tournament coverage. First thing to say, there was an absolute bloodbath for top 8 in the cut-off here. There was a 1% tiebreaker between 8th, 9th and 10th. Unfortunately, our featured Matt Light and Amar Datani were the 9th and 10th players at that point, and I'm afraid that they have missed out on top 8. But we've got a pretty interesting game here. Raoul finished top of the Swiss. Ross Silcock decided to play him in round 7 to try and get top of the Swiss, and it turns out that Raoul defeated Ross to become top of the Swiss.
Yeah, apparently in that game there wasn't a lot of permanence on the board for a long time.
Well, it's generally what John does, isn't it? And I think this is a fairly interesting match. I mean, Pat Cox, when he played Jund at the Grand Prix, seemed to feel that this was very much in John's favour, this game, this matchup. So I don't know what your opinion is on that.
The awkward thing about talking about favourites and not favourites in Legacy is it all depends on the competence of the player. I mean, Rug Delver is a very, very skill-intensive deck, and it's also quite build-dependent as well.
So we've got Delver of Secrets coming down for Richard here. Do you have a second land to go with that, Delver? He does. It's a wasteland, and he's going to take out the bad lands from Raoul. Raoul, however, does have an active Dark Confidence, so that's going to play a big factor in this game, you'd think.
It's a little bit awkward. I imagine Richard would have liked to have chain lightning the Dark Confident as opposed to the Deathrite. But Deathrite Shaman's just so powerful in this matchup as well.
Well, Raoul's got another one, so we'll see what Richard's answer is. And he turns over his Delver saying Force of Will, so...
Yeah, I'm not sure he wants to be using that Force unless it's completely necessary, with him already hemorrhaging card advantage to that Dark Confident.
Yep.
What he's probably going to have to do is leave the Dark Confident on the table and just hope to get in there for enough damage that Dark Confident does a lot of killing to Raoul.
Ponder there from Richard.
Ideally he's looking for perhaps a fetch land and a removal spell, or just a land.
Well, he left them there, so he must be feeling okay with it. Another wasteland.
See, the issue with the wastelands is it just means the Deathrite Shaman taps for mana twice.
Yep. For
every wasteland that's used in this matchup.
Dark Confident revealed himself there, so Raoul took 2 for that, but I'm not sure he's going to be too upset about that.
No, I think that is Rich's probable lines of victory. He's hoping that the Bobs do him enough damage, and he's going to limit his resources, so the Deathrite Shaman is going to be tapping for mana as opposed to be gaining him life.
Yep.
He just has to hope that Raoul doesn't find removal for that insectile aberration.
Now, we'll see if Raoul actually has his second land. Well, it'd be his 4th land, but it's his second land at this point. And this is pretty much Rug Delver's plan, isn't it? He's going for the second Dark Confident here, and Richard has the days for it.
See, I'm not sure I agree with that play, unless he has a removal spell in hand. I mean, whereas it does feel really bad to leave Bob on the table, it just feels to me that Richard's very far behind. He does have another land in his hand. He's got that Misty, so he may not want that 3rd card down on the ponder.
I think at this point, is he basically on the Delver you and hope that Bob does me a favour or two?
I think he's been on that since turn 2, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel it was a little bit questionable to counter the second Bob.
Yeah.
I mean, with his limited mana, there is only so many spells a turn he can play. However, you've got to balance that with I don't want him to kill my insect. But then if he's got the days and he's limited on mana, he can protect the insect aberration with his days.
Yeah.
Which is why it seemed like a bit of a strange play to me.
Although I suppose Richard's logic may have been that if there's 2 Dark Confidence on the table, the odds of Raoul drawing out of it are so much higher.
I mean, he's already had Dark Confident active for two or three turns now, and you're struggling to accrue card advantage with the Rug Delver deck anyway.
So that's Thoughtseize from Raoul. Richard's having a think about this, and So that's Force of Will, Stifle, Delver of Secrets, Ponder, Volcanic Island there.
It's a little unfortunate that Raoul gets to see the Stifle. He could have maybe got another land and put it in the bin with it.
Yeah.
But at least now Richard knows that Raoul isn't going to wasteland him if he has one blue up, because he's not going to want to walk into it, and that means he's two land hand now. He's on the ideal operating mana for Rug Delver. The interesting thing about the Rug Delver deck is it has more spells than all the other decks in the format that aren't like a dedicated Storm deck, because it runs so few mana sources.
I mean, it's the classic feeling of, if anyone played Standard recently, and I imagine a lot of people watching this video will have done, the Standard blue-white Delver deck that came out ages ago just won a lot of games because it played 18 land.
And the rest of the format was playing what, 25, 26?
25, 26. The ramp deck was could have been playing as many as 28. So it was a case where there was a deck with 18 land, 42 spells was fighting a deck which had 26 to 28 land and 8 ramp spells as well. So it only had about 8 spells that really mattered in the whole deck.
The second Deathrite Shaman's not ideal for Richard.
Not ideal for Richard, is it? However, Raoul is only on 10 at this point, so Richard might be looking to get a bit lucky with those with that Dark Confidence at this point as well. Attacking with the Insectile Aberration, Raoul goes down to 7.
Yeah, the awkward point's going to come when Raoul abrupt decays the Insectile Aberration, and then Richard can do nothing about that due to the uncaterable nature.
It does feel like the John deck, if it can get any sort of traction, is going to be very hard for the Rug Delver deck to come back from.
Yeah, I think after sideboard, when the Rug Delver deck perhaps has Submerge and maybe even Rough Tumble, it's a lot better suited to this kind of match.
I mean, it does seem like Rug Delver wants to go 1-for-1, and John's a deck which doesn't allow you to go 1-for-1.
And inherently all John's cards are very powerful as well.
Oh, that's 3 for Raoul there. So putting him down to 4, so unless he deals with that insect this turn, he's going to be on a pretty severe clock.
And he's got to do it through Stifle and Force of Will.
Well, he's taken the Force of Will with, he took the Force of Will with the Thoughtseize, so...
Okay, well
we
the
don't
Stifle's going to stop Liliana as well.
Yeah, we don't know what came off that Ponder for Richard either. Also, random interesting point that the Stifle can actually counter the Deathrite Shaman's ability as well, even if he goes for mana.
Yep, and this is why you should be playing 4 Stifles in your Rug Delver decks.
I think that Rug Delver's it just takes advantage of it so much because its whole idea is to choke the opponent's resources, and Stifle is at its most dangerous when you're choked. It just used to be, I remember when the card was first printed, because it was printed in a format with fetch lands, and everyone just thought immediately of it as a 1 blue mana land destruction spell, so it was just jammed in every deck. And it turned out that it just wasn't very good in that role because there weren't decks like Rug Delver around, so all it was inconvenient rather than backbreaking. But in Rug Delver it just feels that much more backbreaking.
That's Raoul casting another Thoughtseize.
Yeah, so he's going to go down to 2, and now he sees double Stifle in Richard's hand. And I can see Lee's just got an evil smirk on his face at this moment, seeing those Stifles.
Yeah. I'm wondering why the Jund deck... I was actually thinking when you mentioned the word choke earlier, I was wondering why the Jund decks weren't actually playing it in their sideboard. I suppose they're designed to prey on those blue decks anyway, but that would just be the final nail in the coffin perhaps.
Bloodbraid elfing into choke feels a little bit rude against a blue deck, to be fair.
It's a very hard decision from Raoul here, being at 2 life. What to take.
He's more like got to figure he can't beat 2 Stifles.
No.
So
I think he cast the Thoughtseize, hoping to take the Stifle, make the Liliana, and make him sack the Insectile, then gain 4 on his upkeep.
Yeah.
However, that's not really possible anymore.
No. So he says take 1 Stifle and feel very sad at the moment, I believe, is what's happening here. I imagine if he breaks that Bloodstain mat...
I think this is the correct line of play. He has to wasteland the blue source, move to his second main phase, and then make the Liliana and make Richard sack a guy.
Yep.
Or Richard has to stifle this, then he can just cast Liliana and make him sack a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's all down to
That Dark Confident. I mean, I believe Richard stifles this because if you stifle the Wasteland, then at least you can draw Lightning Bolt or something like that.
He's
and
definitely the correct player to stifle as well. It's just a very good use of Raoul's resources from him.
Yep. So he cracks the Bloodstained Mar going to 1.
Gets a bad land.
Yeah. I mean, it's still possible those Deathrite Shaman get him out of this, which is yeah. It's going to take a minor miracle, but it is still possible.
So he activates a Deathrite. He can only activate one Deathrite in his upkeep because he has only one source of green.
Yep, exactly.
So that pulls him to 3. There's quite a few cards in his deck that would kill him.
Yeah.
I'm kind of building suspense, like I turned before.
Yeah. Leaves the pro here.
Richard's going to
Rip a
spoil
line.
my fun and just bolt him now.
Well, Richard does have another Delver in hand, but
I'd be tempted to brainstorm here and try and find a burn spell.
it always feels a little bit unfortunate when you spend time and you sculpt this perfect way out of a situation, your opponent just goes bolt you.
Yeah. It's one of the strengths of Rug Delver that I prefer it over the bug lists, because you can just dome someone from 10 quite happily.
Yeah. Suppose the bug lists have to play a little bit more land as well.
Yeah, they do.
I think Raoul's heart might have gone in his mouth a little bit there when he saw the Volcanic Island being tapped, but it's just a Delver.
It would have been a pretty epic slow roll there if that had been a bolt.
Yeah.
More the truth.
Is Raoul? I mean, could Raoul even consider just raw dogging it here?
No,
or
I
do you
think he
he's
has to
got
gain 2 life.
Yeah.
He has a lot of 1s in his deck and a lot of 2s, but not so many 3s and 4s. So we'll have to see how much Bob decides to shoot him in the head for.
Mm. Got to admit, the most I've seen is 12.
That's vintage though.
Yeah, that was vintage. And you deserve it if you play a deck with 4 Gush, 4 Force of Will and a Blightsteel Colossus with Dark Confident.
He's thinking about it.
He is really thinking about it. I guess what he's thinking of is that if I use all my resources and that Delver flips, I'm still dead. Yep. So he takes out the Delver, and he's going to move to the Dark Confident trigger, and oh, he's dead.
Doesn't love him.
Bob does not love Raoul at this point, and Richard is going to move to 1-0 up.